Ever since I announced my retirement a couple months ago, my wife's been in a panic about what we're going to do about insurance since I'm too young to qualify for Medicare and she's even younger than me.
He's not lying about that. I did a lot of investigating. Not really sure if I'm more confused now or if I have clarity, but we're going to talk about that today.
We've done a lot of things to try to look into this. I should say she's done a lot of things to look into this, and I've been along for the ride. And we're going to share it with you. Maybe it helps you get some clarity. Maybe some of you can give us some tips on what's the right way to go about this as we move forward. Yeah, so a couple weeks from now, I'm actually going to retire. And since I'm only 59 and a half, we won't have insurance for a while. So Robbie started looking into it, got out there on the internet. Of course, she found the experts that say, do it this way. And then she found somebody who said, that's stupid, do it this way. Just like anything else you find on the internet.
Absolutely. It's very confusing because there's all kinds of information out there. And in all transparency, I Googled it. Healthcare coverage for early retirees. And boom, you get a whole list of stuff. But essentially, the things that I focused in on was COBRA and how that would work.
And I have a pretty good COBRA plan. Mm-hmm. My insurance at my work is pretty good. But honestly, we thought COBRA was just going to be expensive and wouldn't be an option for us. I mean, it would be an option, but it would be an expensive option.
Right, right. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Fortunately, COBRA is pretty reasonably priced with Rich's current place of employment. That's not always the case for everyone. But COBRA is definitely something to look at. Of course, all the websites talk about, well, just switch over to your spouse's health insurance plan. Well, the problem here is that I'm doing just as needed work as an RN. I don't have any benefits, so that's not an option for us to switch to my health insurance. Next thing that everybody talks about is going to Healthcare.gov, which is the same thing as Obamacare and is also the same thing as
the marketplace.
The marketplace, yeah, Affordable Care Act. Those are all meaning the same thing.
And like pretty much any other government website, you go to Healthcare.gov, put in some information, and you're baffled by BS.
Yes.
Right. And then and people start reaching out to you because you put your information in there.
And I will admit that I'm way too trusting, and I made the mistake of putting in an email and a phone number, and my phone was lit up, bombarded, and I was not prepared for that. So that was a lesson learned on my part.
So Robbie and I, as we've said in past videos, we're believers in Christ, and a lot of the people we hang around with are as well. And some of those folks use something called Christian Healthcare Ministries.
Right. That's one of them. There's another one called Samaritan's Ministries, another one that is called MediShare, many different options. Now, they're not really health insurance, but
they're kind of like healthcare sharing cost plans, right? Like between everybody that's in it, everybody puts in some money and they cover certain things. But there were some drawbacks to those, right? And I think the biggest one that Robbie talked to me about was it's not really clear, and you can't find clarity on what's going to be a pre-existing condition or not, and how long something would count as a pre-existing condition.
Right. I was very drawn to that and really was interested in that avenue for health insurance. It was a good price. Definitely much cheaper than what
half or less of other stuff.
Yes. But like Rich said, my concern was there's certain things that they will label as pre-existing conditions. And Rich and I have both had a couple things in our past within the last 5-10 years where I'm not sure if they would label that as a pre-existing condition or not. I did do a little bit of checking into it. Some of them say 36 months. Some of them say you have to be 5 years. So there's kind of multitude of answers. And because of that, I started backing away from that, wanting just to make sure that if something did come up in regards to one of our previous issues, it would be covered. So that's the reason that I kind of backed away from any type of health sharing ministry.
And then we've talked to some other folks that are retirees or early retirees that have other types of insurance that are not COBRA and are also not Christian Healthcare Ministries or something like that, and also not on the marketplace. And that's just kind of some private healthcare
insurance.
you can go out and get.
Right.
And we actually, one of our neighbors had a company, and I don't really want to mention names because number one, I don't know if we were given all the correct information, but we reached out to a guy and he made contact with us and we had an appointment and we talked through it, and it was really appealing. Like
It was.
there were some things about it that were good. Like you're going to pay a little bit less of a premium, but you're also not going to have coverage for alcoholism or coverage for pregnancy, and some of the stuff that we no longer have to worry about.
Right.
So that made it a little bit cheaper. And honestly, that guy was like nice and
Yeah, he was super helpful. And interestingly enough, then after we got done talking to him, I had several more questions that I thought about, and so did Rich.
we had him send us the stuff like a kind of a quote because it was an estimate because I'm not 100% sure what we're going to have for an income. We're getting there. But he sent us some stuff and we had more questions. So Robbie reached back out to him both in text and email.
Never heard a word back from him again.
And I gave it 2 more weeks. And then I sent him an email saying, hey, we still have some questions and we're interested. Still never heard back from him.
Yeah.
And I guess what that says to me is it's shady.
Well, and yeah, and I'm
Like,
there's a lot of exactly. There's a lot going on here where for me this is hard, and I'm trusting. Okay, God, show us the right way. Show us the avenue that you want us to take that's going to be best for us. And so in a kind of a roundabout way, getting no response from him was almost like
closing the door.
not the way I want you to go. So, and I had some reservations about it anyway, so that's okay. I also then spent a lot of time on the Healthcare.gov and looking at all of those kinds of things.
And it's super confusing.
Very.
And so we decided we just reach out to a insurance broker locally and just go sit down with them.
Yeah.
So we made an appointment with a guy that gets great ratings on Google. And we made an appointment with the
Him.
name, the name of the insurance agency, that guy. And then the day of our appointment,
I got a phone call saying, hey, he's not available. There's a conflict in scheduling. We're going to put you with someone else, which of course I was disappointed because all the reviews had talked about him and his name and how good he was. So I was disappointed, but I'm like, yeah, that's great. We can meet with someone else.
and then we get there, and basically the first thing this gal says is, I've only been doing this a couple months, so I'm not 100% versed on what's right and wrong. So awesome. Right away you're just blowing me away with the confidence that this is the right choice for us.
Yeah.
But there were some good things about it. Like she basically started out by saying, I'm not going to show you anything that you're not going to be able to go out and find on the marketplace yourself or at healthcare.gov. It's just that they can pull all the different plans and companies and all that into one kind of view.
Yeah.
So you can see them on one screen rather than having to say, what does Ambetter cost versus what does
Right.
Aetna cost versus what does United Healthcare cost, and you have to do it all yourself. They could do it all at once.
Yeah. And she was very kind, and she did give us some good, useful information as far as, knowing for sure, figuring out what your MAGI.
Yeah, your
income
modified adjusted
Yeah.
gross income is what they're going to
Which
go by.
before I was like, what are you talking about? So she did help us understand some of that stuff, because you can go on to healthcare.gov. You don't have to go through getting that through an insurance broker.
And they're not even making any money. She said they don't make any money by signing somebody up. They just become kind of the agent of record,
Right.
so that if somebody has any questions, they don't have to deal with 1-800-healthcare.gov or whatever it is. They can call their agent and have them help them with it.
Right.
But she showed us all these different plans from different companies, and I just think of a few. I know one of them was Ambetter.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was one called Oscar. There was Aetna and United Healthcare, and I think Blue Cross Blue Shield. They were all on there, and amazing the difference in the costs.
Yeah.
And
And not just in the premiums. That's where it gets a little overwhelming, because I think when we put our information in, there was 64 different insurance plans that came up, like that kind of fit our income. 64 is a lot to go through.
Right. And they ranged from like $800 a month for the both of us to like $3,500 a month for the both of us. And I mean, obviously, one of them you have a lower deductible, the higher it costs, lower deductible, that kind of thing. But it was just, I don't want to say overwhelming, because I'm kind of kind of expected it.
It was overwhelming.
Okay.
For me, it was
Overwhelming.
overwhelming.
But, one thing about all those healthcare.gov, the good thing is the reason it's out there, at least our understanding of the reason, is they cannot deny you for a pre-existing condition.
Which is what I was drawn to on that.
Right.
Right.
And the lady even said, we have people that are in the hospital and they call us and say, I need to get coverage right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already like knowing they're going to need something and they're able to get coverage and be able to use it. But yeah, I mean, so that's a good thing. And I hate to say I trust it because it's associated with the government. Yeah, that's not even close. But I mean, at least it's something that they're trying to put out there to help people, and it gives you all these different options.
One red flag for me with healthcare.gov is there are subsidies, right? So you get like a tax credit, depending on what your income is, those kinds of things. I have seen several things, several people have told us that the subsidies were put in place during COVID, and at the end of 2025, those expire. So there's kind of this gray area right now with healthcare.gov as far as what is going to happen with all of that in 2026. So,
And the gal we talked to kind of confirmed that. She said, yeah, that's coming. We're hoping this doesn't go away and we're hoping that doesn't go away, but they don't really know yet. So,
right.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I've tried to look at all of the different options and what the costs are. And we haven't for sure 100% made a decision yet, but definitely Cobra is looking more appealing.
And at least it's something we know.
Yeah, and especially for the rest of this year, because healthcare.gov does look at your income. So Rich is retiring in the middle of a year. And they want to know what your income is for 2025. Okay, well, obviously our income is going to be significantly higher 2025 than it will be when we are completely retired.
Right.
So that's definitely one thing too. That's like, okay, maybe we do Cobra till the end of the year. Then we'll have a better handle on how much our income actually is going to be for the next year, 2026, and then go from there.
And some of the things that scared me a little bit about the healthcare.gov stuff is all the policies, you pay them as a couple, and I'll just make up some numbers. Let's say you're paying $1,200 a month premiums as a couple.
That covers both of us.
Covers both of you, but the deductibles are individual and they're high, like $8,500, $9,200 until you get your premiums until they're above $2,000 or even higher than that. Your deductibles are individual and they're high,
right?
Or they seem high. I mean, I'll grant you, I'm used to a little bit less of a deductible with my past couple of jobs insurance. You had a family deductible and everybody kind of worked towards it. So again, I think for us, it's going to come down to, we know what Cobra is going to cost because that's a cost that they've provided to me. Yeah. And it's really, for the plans that we were looking at, they're within $100 or $200 of what Cobra is going to cost. And we've already spent some money this year. So we've already started working towards our deductible on my current insurance. So that's probably the way we're going to go. But, again, we have to make a decision in the next 6 weeks or so for sure. But I guess what we'd really like is tell us your experience. And if you retired early and you had to go out there on the marketplace and find some insurance, how did that work for you? If anybody has suggestions about which company works great or which company you've had a horrible time with, let us know that in the comments. Let's help each other out here, not just us, but anybody else who might watch this, because I'm going to title it something to do with healthcare in retirement or early retirement, and other people are going to come to this. So help everybody out. Let's be better about being a retiree community and try to share some information. And again, we're definitely not bashing any insurance. Like a ton of people we know love Christian Healthcare Ministries and they love Medishare. One of our kids is on Medishare. So I know it works for some people. It just seems risky for us. And I think at the end of the year, we're going to have a real good idea what I'll make in 2026. Now, then all the changes to Healthcare.gov should be known by then, so we'll know what things are going to cost. We'll know what our income is. We'll probably end up going on open enrollment towards the end of the year and figuring out what we're going to do next year. But I mean, I guess I could have Cobra for 18 months. So if nothing looks great, I can have Cobra for another 9 or 10 months after that anyway. So that's our kind of journey on healthcare so far. Looking forward to some comments from you guys. If you have any questions for us, write them in the comments about who we've talked to, or which things I say we, it's mostly her, which things Robbie's looked at. We'll be happy to share. Well, thanks for watching us. God bless.